I wasn't the only person surrounded by light. Searching for the existence of the Devil King on the 12th floor, unable to be found. Confirming the Devil King's retreat. Pot. History changes. TN, this is an idiom in Korean. The white light spread everywhere. Lightly shining, it looked like fog. The light covered the field in an instant, and it even covered the capital of the Ijim Empire. Raindrops. They could only be described as that. Sprinkles of light started to breeze through the air like dandelion seeds. This is. The witch looked around not knowing what to do. Kim Gongja, what's going on? No. This is the first time for me as well, so. I also didn't know what to do. Seeing the world completely covered by light, I asked inwardly. Sword Emperor. Do you know what's happening? No, this is a first for me as well. What is this? It's scary. Other than the time when he taught me about the sword, he was useless. I didn't know how this ignorant gorilla managed to get to the 99th floor. Hey, Kim Zombie. You just cursed me, huh? No way. I was just thinking that you're so amazing and a lowly person like me wouldn't be able to understand you. That's strange. You look like you just cussed at me secretly. Bei Hurayong frowned and complained. Even when we were talking, the light rain continued to whirl around. It was then that I felt a change. I pointed my fingers at the gigantic city walls of the empire. Black Dragon Master. Look there. The city walls. It seems like all the flags are vanishing. The flags on the city walls that were red and gold were quickly disappearing. The hundreds of flags decreased to tens of flags in an instant. And they were still continuing to disappear.
Yeah.
You're right. The witch frowned. Hold on to me for a moment. We should go check. Yes, I agree. Teleport. The witch held my hand and used her skill. The next moment, we weren't in the middle of the field, but on the tallest fortress of the empire. A fancy view entered our eyes. Goodness. The witch quietly murmured. It's all changing. It really was. The world was changing. The squatter settlements and the Harlem were wrapped in white light, and they disappeared. As if they never existed. The clothes of the citizens on the streets also changed. The dirted rags turned into normal clothes. Even the fruit in the market changed. The rotten apples started to shine and looked tasteful. I subconsciously muttered. History changes. What? History changed. The numbers of guards around the city walls noticeably decreased as well. Not only did their numbers change, but their expressions also changed. Their faces weren't filled with fear and despair of the Devil King's presence. They looked like they were bored with their jobs. Normally, the Ijim Empire should have been attacked by the Devil King, whether they won the war, or were destroyed by loss, whatever it was, they should have had to fight against the Devil King. But I swallowed. In this world, the attack of the Devil King itself became non-existent. While no one knew. In the time that no one knew, the incident of the Devil King attacking vanished from history.
Yeah.
I made it disappear. History changed. And that result was spread out right in front of my eyes. The 11th floor stage is being revised. The 12th floor stage is being revised. White light covered the city. The light touched the face of a child beggar. The rain of light streaked on the clothes of a man who was worrying about tomorrow's meals. Shaha! Light fluttered around like dandelion seeds. In the markets, in the corners, on the lamp post of a street and on people returning home. It softly stroked the world. Revision complete. And soon, it faded away. It had disappeared somewhere. I shut my mouth. The witch also did the same. In the paused world, we couldn't hear anything, so because we were both silent, it was like the world was holding its breath. But then... Everyone, it's cheap. Not too long after, the silence was broken. Apples that just came over from Ailbrant. Fresh apples. Sir, even elves get these seasonal apples. Come look at these fresh apples. Sound. The water in the sauna is horrible these days. I can see the dirty things. Geez, what are we supposed to do if the people who take care of it don't? I could hear sounds. After I accepted the quest, the pause time started to flow again. Sheesh. The crown princes are so naughty. I can hear the emperor screaming at them every night over the palace walls. They're just rumors, but I think. How about a drink this evening? Just us. Donate a little. Just a little. The goddess loves everyone. Ailbrant apples that even elves like. Cheap. The world started to breathe again. You there? Among them, there was a sound calling out to us. Where are you from? The witch and I turned our heads in the direction of the voice. A general was holding his sword on the city walls. He frowned menacingly. How rude. Who dares to step on the fortress of the empire? Come down immediately. Somehow, it was a familiar face. I muttered. Sarbus Dejim. The general's eyes widened. He looked like he was seeing me for the first time. Huh. How does a guy like you know my name? I shut my mouth. I see. He was a general that should have been on the 11th floor. A citizen of the empire who greeted hunters kindly. The NPC with the skill that I copied after dying. You bastards. Didn't you hear me tell you to come down? He was shouting like he was talking to a stranger. Even the history of the 11th floor had changed as well. Thump. My heart suddenly vibrated. Unknown emotions wrapped around my heart, my chest, and my entire body. I couldn't even speak. Why was it me? The world had found its breath, but my voice seemed to have been taken by something. I shut my mouth and looked down at the general. It was now an old memory. Thinking of the words the general NPC had said to me. End your life. I can't do it. I thank you instead of the empire. I remembered the general's last smile. Please, take good care of our empire.
Ah.
I see. This was what it was. I didn't know why, but laughter escaped my mouth. Ah-ha-ha. Ha-ha-hum, wah-ha-ha. I laughed while holding my stomach. The general looked at me dumbfoundedly. All the soldiers turned their gazes towards me. The witch looked at me strangely. Beihurayong looked at me like I was crazy. But I didn't care. I was sad that the citizens of the empire had forgotten about me, but a greater emotion than that had captured my entire body.
Ah.
I took a deep breath and opened my mouth. The empire. A lion's roar exploded from my mouth. The general's shoulder twitched. I protected. The soldiers on the city walls paused. I protected your empire. And I didn't stop. My lion's roar was amplified with red aura. I kept the promise. The citizens of the empire turned their heads. Some from the streets, some from the market, others from their houses. My voice rang in the city, climbed the city walls, and scratched against the reception room. I laughed. Loudly. My laughter echoed and rang to the tower. Without any shame. I pointed at the sky on top of the fortress. Hundreds of days. With the thought that I didn't want to create a single victim, the fact that I defeated the Devil King of Fall Rain after 100 days was. I'm proud. I was overjoyed. I did it. It was the first time in my entire life that I felt an emotion like this. I lived like trash. I was envious of others, laughed at them, and spent my days drinking. I threw my life away. I threw myself away. But not today. Stage clear. Today, I could stand tall. Today, the 12th floor stage has been cleared. I could stand tall in front of people. To the witch, and the sword saint. And to the world. Most of all, I could stand tall in front of myself. Letting everyone know again. I could be proud of myself. Today, the 12th floor stage has been cleared. I could be that kind of person. Calculating challengers. Calculation complete. I was so happy that it felt like my heart was going to burst. The 3 challengers are being announced. Light was carved into the sky. Subjugation contribution ranking. Rank 1. Death King. Rank 2. Witch. Rank 3. Sword Saint. They were probably letters NPCs couldn't see. The general was frozen at my lion's roar. Jay, just what are you? Sarbestigim. The general flinched. I looked down at him from the fortress. Look after the empire well. Sorry, but this is the end of a warrior's duties. Catching the Devil King is enough. There's probably rotten bits of the empire that you can't see, a bunch of other problems. Definitely. I beamed. Take care of it on your own. We're out. Whoop, whoop. Let's go. The general's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish. I don't know what you're saying from earlier, just what? Ooh ha ha ha. Beihurayong rolled in the midair holding his stomach. Heek. Hee 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 hee. Quack. See, crazy bastard. You psychopath. Zombie bastard. I thought you were going to be mature, but you just explicitly bragged like that. I'm curious about how your brain works. Hey. Kim Zombie. I acknowledge. You're worth researching.
Ah.
I swept my hair back. Then what should I do? I'm so lovable today. See, crazy bastard. Kim psycho bastard. Huck, fine. I like it because you're not being like a loser. You hee hee heek. Beihurayong continued to roll in the air like it wasn't enough. I turned to look at the witch. Alrighty, Black Dragon Master. What are you doing? Let's go to the 13th floor. The witch sighed.
Yeah.
There's no normal person in the higher-ranking hunters. It's okay. I understand. I'll think of it as a relief since you're better than the heretic questioner at least. What? Teleport. The witch grabbed my hand and activated her skill. The next moment, we were back in the field again. She didn't say much and grabbed the sword saint's arm. The owner of Black Dragon peered at my face. The first entrance is always given to the rank 1. She spoke. You can say transmit for all of us. Death King. It was the first time my nickname was called. Today was full of firsts. Yes, ma'am. I smiled. Transmit. And we headed towards the next stage. We passed through countless fights. We endured against endless battles. Eventually, we arrived. The 13th floor stage. It just had to be this stage with villains. Was that the reason why? As soon as we entered, it was different. 2 different species greeted me after we were transported. One with a happy voice, and one with a horrendous voice. Welcome, Death King. First was the happy voice. The tower no longer called me Hunter Kim Gongja. Instead, it used my nickname, Death King. I was acknowledged by the tower, and I was welcome as someone who belonged. Was I too simple if I was happy at small things like this? Kia ia. And I won't forgive you. There was a voice that sounded like it was being ripped apart. You dare. To my children. No. The owner of the voice was actually being ripped apart. You dare to take the children that I saved. You dare mock me. Or are you trying to trick me? Are you going to take my flesh, my blood, and my soul? The Devil King. The owner of the red demon was spilling wastewater. I'll curse you. The Devil King's figure was ripping apart. Black blood and the boiling wastewater were evidence of his pain. He looked more pitiful than when he escaped from the 12th floor. He shouted towards the direction of the sky. You. The world. I curse everything that's not me. If the world is trying to get rid of me, I'll swallow the world. Your oceans will become my spit, and your earth will become my flesh. Your flesh. Bones. Heart. I'll chew everything up to your last organs. Next to me, the witch was silent. That was how violent the screams of the Devil King were. It was an intense murderous intent. Even the Sword Saint took a step back and tightened his grip on his sword. It's a horrendous scream. The Sword Saint murmured. I've never heard of a voice like that. It sounds like he has 1,000 mouths.
Yeah.
Why is he shouting like that? The Sword Saint and Witch wrapped their aura around themselves. Was it to prevent themselves from being covered by the murderous intent? There was only one person different. Ha! Bei Hurayong only tilted his head calmly. What's with that guy? And he said totally unexpected words. He's weaker than before. Pardon? He's a lot weaker than when he was fighting on the floor below this. He was a lot weaker. I slowly observed the Devil King. That?
Yeah.
Bei Hurayong wrinkled his eyes. Since he was cut by the witch or whatever her name is, it's obvious that he would be injured. But it's not just an injury and his level completely dropped. His level dropped? How do I say this? For example, Bei Hurayong carefully thought about his words.
Yeah.
Let's compare him to a head king goblin. That guy was like an SSS class head goblin that was a combination of Alexander and Arthur with a goblin. Your metaphors are becoming even more innovative. How do you know Alexander and Arthur? An emperor should know about the great ones before him. Ah, sure. Let's go with that, Sword Emperor. I spoke inwardly. So the Devil King on the 12th floor was that kind of SSS class head king goblin, but
Yeah.
he's kinda like just a head king goblin with the SSS class tag taken off. And not the head king goblin that was leading the 11th floor army, but the weak head king goblin you cowardly gorked and cred at to defeat. In the tower's time, it happened a few days before. But as Bei Hurayong referenced something that was a far-off incident to remember, he tilted his head. Who? That's strange. Bosses have to become stronger as they climb the tower usually. But why did that happen? Did the witch's attack have some kind of lev-down effect earlier? Listening to the Sword Emperor speak, I looked around. It was an empty temple. The Devil King was still crying out towards the sky like a lion. The nightmare causing the fall of rain was crying out in pain, and he was furious. Could it be? His appearance gave me a bit of assurance. Did something unexpected happen to the stage? It was then. Calculating the 12th floor clear rewards. Calculation impossible. Voices flowed into my head. The hidden quest is currently being progressed. All awards will be calculated when the 19th floor is cleared. Only the smallest rewards are being given currently. Something iridescent was spread out in front of my eyes. The blessing of the war god is being strengthened. It was a map. However, it was completely different from maps that I saw up until now. All maps from the 11th floor to the 20th floor are being opened. It was a world map. Like its namesake, the map that was given to me on the floor below was a mini-map. Even if it was big, it was limited to a single floor usage. But the map in front of me was on a completely different level. It was a map of this world, a map of another world. I began seeing a world map. As soon as I saw the map, I realized. I figured it out. The Sword Saint and the witch looked at me at the same time. The witch had a questioning face, and the Sword Saint had an indifferent face. Figured, what out? Why the Devil King is being like that? Black Dragon Master. Think of the last stage. I spoke quickly. The history of the Devil King's attack disappeared. And the cities are completely different. Things like the refugees' shelters are completely gone. So what? Sheesh, think about it logically. Where would the refugees have come from? From the rural villages in the Empire? No, probably from across the entire continent. But the refugee shelters where those people were completely disappeared. The witch finally looked like she caught onto something. I see. She narrowed her eyes. It's not just the Empire's history that changed. All the other refugees from across the Empire. Yes. I nodded my head. Not just the Empire, but the entire continent changed. We returned to the time before the Devil King attacked. Yes. And now. That was what happened. And we're at the point when this temple was being attacked. Seeing the world map, I became sure. The continent of this world was divided by mountains. The mountains were so high that you had to risk your life to climb them. But in between the mountains, there was a small area. People could pass by this area to get to opposite sides of the continent. This temple was located right in that area. A temple that connected the East and the West. There would probably be a long history and countless legacies about this. This temple was the shield of the goddess. Inside the shield, there was a large horizon to the east. Small lands were in the field, and beyond that, there was an empire. Past the empire, there was only the ocean, so the empire's borders started on the plains and ended on plains. On the other west side, it was completely red. All the land beyond the goddess's shield was stained red. It was the Devil King's land. The Devil King had broken through this shield to plow through the east. And at the end, he had pushed them back until the port. That was how history was supposed to go. So this is what history changing means. I understood. The time of this world was going backwards. History changing. It might have been more appropriately called history regression. Key. Yes. Why the Devil King was crying out like that, and why the Sword Emperor said the Devil King's level had fallen. I could completely understand it now. I muttered inwardly. His level went down. What? Bar Hurayong furrowed his eyebrows. Level went down?
Yeah.
You know. The voice that we hear when hunters climb a level. There was a chosen voice that hunters heard when they became stronger. Your existence has become even clearer. Your level is growing. Bei Hurayong probably thought of the same voice as me. Are you talking about the "your being" thing? Yes, exactly. It was easy to understand what "your level growing" meant. But it was confusing what "being becoming clearer" meant. I just thought they were trying to sound fancy, but looking at the Devil King now, I knew. That boss monster probably grew by killing more people. But his murders and hunts became nothing. And so, that was why. His growth was deleted. His being was growing faint. The path that he took so far, the history of massacres had been erased. Because I changed the history of the 12th floor after going through endless battles. Kia. Every time I took a step forward, the Devil King took a step back. The Devil King of Fall Rain is furious. His being is becoming fainter. And the voice that I heard proved that I was right. You. The Red Nightmare growled. It was the same murderous intent as before. But no one was pushed back. Not anymore. The witch, Sword Saint, and I looked the Devil King directly in the eye. Let's go. I spoke. Let's light the signal fire of counterattack. 5-100 ghosts. BGRRRRR. The Devil King's body boiled. -1,000 monsters. It was a voice that sounded like it was screaming. My child. As if replying to that, monsters from all over the stage were raised. It was summoning magic. They had probably been there from the beginning. From the column of the temple, from the remains of the collapsed building, monsters slowly got up. About 1,000 zombies got up. Were they the humans that were in this temple in the past? They were some who wore mitres, and some who were dressed as paladins. The Devil King shouted. Kill them. The horde of zombies ran at us. Next to me, the witch sighed.
Ha.
I didn't like zombie movies from when I was young. I don't really like them either. Can you win, Death King? It's not a matter of if I can. I raised my sword. I will. To clear the 12th floor, I needed almost 1,000 deaths. For the 13th floor, I would need more deaths than that. Sword Emperor. What? Let's make a bet. What bet? I cut the neck of the zombie that was running at me. My sword went through like it was slicing through tofu. I spoke as I was looking at the tens, hundreds, and thousands of zombies that were running at me. How many times I'll die until the 19th floor? Let's make a bet. Bei Hurayong stroked his chin. Okay. Then I'll go for 100 or less. I grinned. Then I'll do 99. Wow, you unfair bastard. You wanna play cowardly like that? Huh? Yes. I do. Bei Hurayong smirked. Fine. Let's watch the zombie kill his own kind. Do well. Instead, since it's a bet, I won't help you. Good? Good. I laughed looking at the zombies that were running towards me. You have died. You are regressing to 24 hours ago. I died while laughing. You have died. You are regressing to 24 hours ago.
Ugh.
We need to do something about this amount. Which, can't you do something? I'm already doing my best. It's just me. It's hard. But Death King, can't you use your skill to fight against them?
Ah.
Of course, I will. But it's not the cool time yet, about 3 coins later I'll have to use it. What's 3 coins? There's this thing. Anyway. Is this thing on the mini-map?
Ah.
Sword Saint. Can you pierce through there? Through that large top that looks like a stone casket. I have something to check. What are you going to check? I'll explain later, so I'll request this of you right now. I'm a prophet. Okay? You have died. You are regressing to 24 hours ago. Okay. Sword Saint. That stone casket is actually a secret opening. Through there, you can find a hammer that has an effect on the undead. You can go with Witch and use it. He's only ever used a sword his entire life. It has a large territory effect. If you put your aura on it and slam it into the ground, zombies will be swept away. Okay. How do you know that? Prophet. Okay. Well, I never. You have died. You are regressing to 24 hours ago. The zombies are just about taken care of, so now, the Devil King. What's that? Zombies. Giants. I think it's a zombie giant. Since the history of the temple is pretty old, that's probably a giant soldier who used to protect this temple. He died beside the Devil King and became his subordinate. It's probably something like that. If the heretic questioner was here, we would have known more. Whoa, that person knows about otherworldly religions too. I guess he's not an SSS class zealot for nothing. It's because of his skill. Well, that's the proof of his SSS class. How unpleasant. Do you have to talk about that damned bastard? Anyways, I'll take that giant. Yes, sir, Sword Saint. I'll leave it to you. You have died. You are regressing to 24 hours ago. Anyways, I'll take that giant. No, Sword Saint. You can continue to take care of the zombies with the hammer. Look here, that giant is testing my sword so. Prophet. I'm a prophet. Okay? Sheesh, then who's taking care of that giant? Obviously, the witch. Please aim your beam on that giant's eyes. Well. They are eyes that I wanted to aim at. It's basically begging for it with that one gigantic eye. Perfect. Let's go. You have died. You are regressing to 24 hours ago. Anyways, I'll take that. 100 ghosts summon. Goodness. Death King. Your skill doesn't even have a cool time? It happened like this, alright, you two can deal with that giant. Especially Witch. I have something I want to ask of you. What is it? Don't aim for the eyes. How come? If you do, things will go bad. But Death King. Look at the giant zombie with a single eye. Look at the gigantic eye. Can you see it? Yes, I'm looking at it. I know it's basically begging to be targeted. But you can't. How come? That eye, Death King, if you could use beam like me, and you saw an eyeball like that. I admit it, Witch. If I was you, I would try to argue that I was going to aim at that eye. But I don't have time to explain that right now, please? Oot. Listen to him, Witch. Sword Saint, even you. That youngster says he's a prophet. Let's listen to him for now. Fine, I'll do my best, not to aim at that eyeball. Thank you. We ran. We fought. We saved each other. We did things. We talked a lot. My children. We broke through the zombies that were at the temple. My general. We pushed aside the giant one-eyed soldier that was probably a legend back in his days.
Ah.
The Devil King of Fall Rain chooses to retreat. And the Devil King of Fall Rain falls back to the 14th floor. We pushed the Devil King back floor by floor. Like on the 12th floor, raindrops of light whirled around. The temple that was the barrier of the continent was shining like a newly wiped shield. With the sound of a bell, people sang songs. From the east, merchants were riding horses, and from the west, merchants passed by on strange birds. The paladins were thrusting their hammers together while sparring, and the apostles who were looking at them with amorous eyes were pulled to the temple by their ears. The priest sneezed. There was an orphan who shouted jokingly and received a knuckle to the head by an apostle. A one-eyed soldier waved his hand at the apostle.
Ah.
Death King. Okay, witch. Let's go. All right, Sword Saint, are you ready? Wait a moment. There's a merchant selling good whetstones over there. Sword Saint brought a whetstone. While he was sharpening his sword, I turned my gaze away from the giant and looked at the world map. The red land that was pretty far away was squirming like it was going to hoard over here again. But we still had time for Sword Saint to sharpen his sword. That would be enough. Death King. The witch grabbed my hand. When Sword Saint was finished, he immediately held the witch's hand as well. Teleport. The light surrounded us again. Is the 14th floor a forest? The Devil King seems to have hidden. Be careful. I can feel enemies all around us.
Yeah.
Let's go slowly. Slowly. You have died. You are regressing to 24 hours ago. And like that, we cleared through the Devil King's elf army. The Devil King of Fall Rain has chosen to retreat. The Devil King of Fall Rain is falling back to the 15th floor. In the middle of a waterfall that flowed backwards, we defeated the Devil King, who was using the Queen of Mermaids. The Devil King of Fall Rain has chosen to retreat. The Devil King of Fall Rain is falling back to the 16th floor. On the top of an exploded volcano, we fought against the Wyvern using Devil King. The Devil King of Fall Rain has chosen to retreat. The Devil King of Fall Rain is falling back to the 17th floor. History was regressing. To a time before the Devil King attacked the Empire. To not only the Empire but before he attacked several lands. Before the temple was destroyed. To before the fairy forest was cursed, before the waterfall flowed backwards, and before the volcano exploded. Before the Devil King ruled an army. Without any pause. Like how a wave covered another wave, and how a drop of water disappeared just like a bubble. Like how flower petals fell. Every time we climbed the tower, the Devil King's territory shrunk, and he became weaker. The Devil King of Fall Rain's existence is becoming faint. Like how the Devil King of the 13th floor was weaker than the 12th. The Devil King of the 14th floor was weaker than the 13th. And the 15th was a bit weaker. And bit by bit, little by little. You have died. The Devil King of Fall Rain has chosen to retreat. The Devil King of Fall Rain's existence is becoming faint. You have died. The Devil King of Fall Rain has chosen to retreat. The Devil King of Fall Rain's existence is becoming faint. You dare. The 97th time. When I arrived on the 19th floor while at my 97th death, we were in an unknown small country. You dare. The Devil King cried in the middle of the empty land. It wasn't the Sword Saint or the witch. The person the Devil King was glaring at while grinding his teeth was me. If it wasn't for you. His eyes were bloodshot with fury. It's because of you. Everything's your fault. If you took the right steps, yes. If it wasn't for you, this wouldn't have happened. You dare. A measly sword user from another world. I lifted my sword. Dang. I finally see the eyes. What? It's exactly how I said. After all this time, I'm finally seeing how your eyes look.
Yeah.
The original Devil King of Fall Rain had no eyes. He was a squirming shadow. He had a face, but no expression. He had arms, but no hands. Wastewater. Because he was covered in that black boiling solution. That was how it was. Does that make sense? The Devil King's mask was finally broken. The Devil King and a warrior weren't able to meet eyes. It's an unbelieved tragedy. And finally, there was a part that wasn't covered by wastewater. Bloodshot eyes. They emanated a grotesque murderous aura, but I wasn't scared. Rather, I was glad. I point my blade at the Devil King. Fight with all you got. You. Or run away again. Hey, aren't you curious? How much weaker you'll get if you run away this time. If you don't fight with what you have, you can't win. Even without the rewards I got from the 19th floor, the Devil King of the 20th floor would have been completely weak. You dare say, a mere hyena that ate all my flesh, what would you know? It was a growling voice like he was cursing me. There was a lost shadow where he was. I slowly opened my mouth. Estelle. Pause. The Devil King's red eyes widened. I warned you to fight with everything you have. If you don't dash. And I hit the ground that I was standing on. An exploding scream came from him. Black water was flicked everywhere. My time will be longer than your history. Listening to the Devil King, Estelle, scream, I glared at him. Face to face. Towards the path that I was walking on. It was long. After a long time, I finally reached this place. The penalty due to your skill is being induced. The trauma of the enemy that killed you is being reenacted. Now, it was time to talk about a certain nightmare. In the battle of the 12th floor, when I was swept away like a raindrop. The intensity of the penalty is medium. It was what I saw after being killed by the Devil King. It is Ghost Road. Trauma. The nightmare of the one called the Master of Nightmares. Penalty opened. The trauma of the monster Devil King of Fall Rain is being created. I stood alone in a burning village, right in the middle of the sea of fire. No. Burn her. I might not have been the only person here. At least I had Bei Hurayong. The person that was really in hell all alone, was on the other side. Burn the witch's nest. Estelle. The saintess from the countryside. Don't show mercy. They're all monsters that have been cursed. Don't miss a single person. Estelle couldn't understand. She couldn't speak. Because she couldn't understand, her mouth just moved without making any sounds. Why? Why were humans burning humans? They were parents who had said they were thankful to her. Babies that had received new lives from her. All of them were massacred. It's what the Sir wants. Soldiers who had appeared out of nowhere destroyed the village. His Majesty has ordered it. And knights who had different insignias brought their swords down. The Pope has said to the heretic who dares to call herself the saintess. The owner of the forest had ordered this, so spirit, please. The Queen of Mermaids has given us magic power too. Us warriors have come to keep the promise of the volcano. All right, dragons. Let's shoot fire too. They all revealed where they were from, but Estelle still didn't know who they were. Who were they to burn humans?
Ah.
Ack! Save me! They surrounded the village like they were catching prey. There wasn't a way to escape. There were some families who tried to leave the village, but they were slaughtered once they were caught. The only escape was the square of the village. They were pierced by spears, chased by swords, injured by arrows, beat with canes. Cough. In the middle of the village, there was a paradise that they had made themselves. Estelle looked around in the smoke-filled air. Just endure it a bit more. Just a bit. A father hunched over. Between the space between the ground and the father, there was an empty area. His child hid in that space. The father was hit with the fire instead of his child and swallowed smoke for his child. The father died first. The child was able to live a minute more than his father. Just a bit more. An old couple held each other. Were they trying to die together? That was what Estelle thought. But when she looked closer, that wasn't the case. There was a newborn baby between them. Just a bit. When the fire spread, the couple screamed. But they didn't fall apart. Their arms were burnt from the flames. Even when they turned to ash, the old couple was holding each other. It wasn't an embrace for their last memory, but to protect the small child. The couple died first. The sobbing of the newborn baby ended after a minute. One by one, the screams in the square paused. The family that had become rich due to their farm, the old man who had woken up early in the morning to work. Why? There wasn't a citizen who was untouched. There were people with cancer, people with blindness. Because there were so many diseases in the world, Estelle swallowed all of them. But her heart was blacker than. How? When she swallowed all those diseases. She was surrounded by smoke. She burned from the fire. She quietly tried opening her mouth. Dash. In her mouth, she could smell something burning. Estelle realized that her heart was a bit more black. For a day, the village burned up. For a day, Estelle burned up. Crunch. Estelle's hand scratched at the ashes. No one bothered her. The soldiers had all left, seeing the village in flames. All that was left was the remnants of the paradise it was. Lependor. There was a corpse of a father. Degina. Under the father, there was a corpse of a child. Solape, Joe, Ugansha. She dug. Mobajan, Tofo, Anna, Garchov. With her bare hands. The remnants of the village. The ashes on the remnants. Her fingers turned black, and her red blood turned black. Estelle continued to dig. Dash. And she ate it. The flesh of humans. The bones of humans. The ashes that didn't have flesh of bones. Dash. The scent of human flesh wasn't pleasant anymore. She couldn't feel any hunger or beauty. It just smelled burnt. But Estelle still ate it. She swallowed it. Even though it was hideous. Estelle's mouth was derided black. Estelle's teeth turned black. Poor thing. Her intestines filled with pus, and the blood spread turned into a solution to cover her entire body. It wasn't just blood. Something else was flowing from her eyes. It probably weren't tears. If they were tears, why weren't they clear? Poor things. So it was wastewater. The wastewater that the humans had used and thrown away had come to her. It had gathered in her heart. Poor things. The wastewater didn't stop flowing. The wastewater flowed. And you are all humans. It flowed in her mind. You were all born as humans, and knew the beauty and tears of life, so why? Just why? It spilled all around her. Were you called monsters? Wasn't it enough to know beauty and sadness? It flowed around her. So you remain as humans, and these, my children, will remain as monsters? Is that your world? It flowed as rain. In this world, is it just you who deserves to die? Was it only you that was allowed to have beauty? Her heart echoed, crying. Then now, you prove it. The rain poured. Prove it to me. The rain poured. I'll curse you. Because the rain poured. No village would burn from flames. My children. My blood. The color that took my heart. I lost the color of my blood, so only wastewater flows through me, but the rain is red, and proves the existence of my blood. Be swallowed in your evil. The rain poured. The rain. You. The rain. The rain poured. You made me like this. Continuously. So I will make you like this. The rain. Because the rain poured. Gongja. Blink. Awake. A voice. This isn't your hell. Hearing that low voice, I open my eyes. Trauma reenactment complete. Confirm that the identity has been maintained. The penalty is finished. One stroke. Since I was holding a single sword. Two extremes. There was something that only I could cut. Gongja. Blink. Now. I looked in front of me. No. What was in front of me showed me. The head's empty. In front of me, there was someone with a black body. Wastewater endlessly flowed from their body. Even if I cut water, it was still water, so there was a lot to cut. One sword, two extremes. Note, Korean idiom. I cut what I had to cut. Kia. As they were cut, wastewater flowed from the King of Black. It might not have been wastewater. If it was, why was it red? Blood. Vibrantly red blood flowed from the Devil King's body. UK, cook. The devil wavered and stepped back. One step. Two steps. When he took his third step, wastewater didn't flow from the Devil King's right arm. The footsteps of the Devil King were puddled with wastewater, but the puddle shrank with every step he took. And eventually, cook, hyuk, whack. The wastewater was completely parting off from the Devil King's body. Drip. Drip. Wastewater couldn't flow anymore, so instead, blood flowed down. The color of life was red. The being of the Devil King of Fall Rain is becoming even fainter. And the all-powerful was no more. No, this can't, yuk. The Devil King covered his left arm with his right hand. Blood was flowing from his left hand. The Devil King pressed tightly against his left arm like he forbade even a single drop of blood from dripping out. My child, not like this, my hate. Retreat. I spoke in a low voice. The Devil King paused like he had been cut by my voice. Fall back to the 20th floor. You can't win against me anyway. Return to your base, to the Devil King's castle. Even without looking at the world map, it was clear what was happening. Blue territory. The territory of humans covered the continent again. It passed the hills. It passed the area called the Goddess's Shield. The temple with the one-eyed giant, the fields where the fairies were dancing, the waterfalls where the mermaids were playing, the mountains where dragons flew, there wasn't a single place that wasn't blue on the continent. Meanwhile, the red territory was Go back to where you started from. 1 point. It was only a single point. Just as how a fire died down after burning everything in its path, there was only a tiny red point on the world map. That place was your final stop. Devil King. The Devil King groaned. You. The Devil King lifted his head. Wastewater had stopped and blood was pouring down, but half of the Devil King's body had been burned black. So was his face. His red eyes flashed violently, but that was it. The Devil King glared at me with an ash-covered face. The Sword Saint wordlessly gripped his sword. I'll leave the last attack to the Death King. The witch slowly pulled her mirrors back. Dash. There wasn't a chance to turn the tables. They didn't have any weakness. Was it because I saw the Devil King's trauma? I felt like this was the situation where they were surrounded by the soldiers in the village. Cook. There wasn't anything else for the Devil King to do other than escape. But the reason why the Devil King couldn't easily decide was because he knew as well. It was the same. Like how avoiding a fire only extended your life for a minute, even if the Devil King retreated to the 20th floor, his defeat was just pushed back.
Shh.
*T.
Shh.
*T. Blood dripped from his mouth. The Devil King has decided to retreat. The Devil King of Fall Rain is falling back to the 20th floor. Yes. Running away even though you knew you would burn to death was something a human would do. The further the Devil King was running away, the closer he was to becoming a human. Confirming the Devil King's retreat. Historical change. The 19th floor stage is being revised. The world was covered by raindrops of light again. After I checked that the Devil King was gone, I turned to look behind me. Sword Saint. Black Dragon Master.
Yeah.
Sorry. I want to clear the 20th floor by myself. I hung my head. Thank you for helping me so far. But I want to finish it with the Devil King. Please let me go alone. The witch shrugged her shoulders. Okay. I'm fine with that. You contributed the most coming on our way here, and I promised not to move for 5 days as you said. I broke that promise and helped you, so I'll honestly stay still this time. The Sword Saint put his sword back in its sheath. After today, it'll already have been 5 days. Meet me after you're done with the 20th floor. We have a lot of things to talk about. Yes, sir. Understood. I hung my head again. Thank you. And I moved on. Transmit. To the 20th floor stage. Welcome, Death King. Devil King. To the village that Estelle was born in. You have entered the boss stage. The second time. This was the second time that I entered the boss stage. Compared to that time, there were a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. The challengers is Death King. One person. May luck be with you. First, the notifications. Like on the Hellfire Residence, there was only one challenger. It was solo playing. The tower, like always, wished me luck. However, there was something definitely different from last time. The clear rewards are being given. The rewards from the 11th floor to the 19th floor are all being calculated. Now, I wasn't a simple challenger. I was a conqueror who had cleared the 11th floor up to here. The tower greeted me, a conqueror, with 9 different trumpet sounds. Calculating the 11th floor clear rewards. Calculating the 12th floor clear rewards. Calculating the 13th floor clear rewards. Calculating the 14th floor clear rewards. Calculating the 15th floor clear rewards. Calculating the 16th floor clear rewards. Calculating the 17th floor clear rewards. Calculating the 18th floor clear rewards. Calculating the 19th floor clear rewards. Plod. I took a step forward. Calculation complete. Listening to the melody that greeted my footsteps. The tower acknowledges your accomplishments. The power to change any skill is given to you. As long as it is not an EX class, you can strengthen any skill. It was like an anthem that was blessing me. The tower had made a stage in advance. The direction of the quests was decided as well. But I didn't walk the path that was already paved for me. I made a completely new stage and cleared the stage using my methods. The tower had acknowledged my methods. As if it was trying to say, that's also fine. The powers of the Death King are being readjusted. It also happened during this time. The limited powers of an apostle are given to you. With this reward, you are given a limited authority. The skill that you want to strengthen is up to you. A stage that wasn't chosen in advance. A method that wasn't chosen in advance. Just like that, the rewards weren't chosen in advance either. I nodded my head inwardly. They're leaving the choice to me, I see. I didn't know why the tower was built. I didn't know who did it either. I didn't know if the tower was filled with life from other worlds. There was still a lot that I didn't know. But I faintly knew what kind of being the tower was now. A being that watches over our decisions. And it was a being that remembered my decision. Fine. Caching. I lifted my sword. I'll show you my decision this time too. An artifact that an ancestor of the Empire had used. Lafanta Ejim's holy protection sword reflected my aura, shining white. I pointed my sword at the enemy in front of me. All right. The entrance of the 20th floor stage. It was standing on a path that led into a small village. It's time to meet your end, Devil King. Dash. It growled quietly. It looked like a beast that had been irrevocably injured. The beast that had been chased by the fire of the world was only able to have a small shelter like this. It was the path that led to the village. It's my. In the middle of the road with white flowers, the beast was standing all alone by itself. It's my village. It cried out. Don't you dare destroy my paradise. And its voice rang out. The boss stage is being opened. The curtains of the stage had opened. The stage of defeating the world's weakest boss. I looked at the sky for a moment. It was clear. It was blue. The sky had originally been blue territory. Looking at the cloudless sky, I was sure. Today. The rain didn't pour. Acacia flowers drifted in the air. The path was soundlessly covered with white flowers, and above, only the sound of people breathing filled the air. I can't forgive you. The breaths sounded rough. I can't ever forgive you. In my eyes, the trace of burns is still left. The scent of burning is carved into my head. That fire. You. Did you think I would forget all your evil? It screamed while it flung its sword around. Every time someone screamed, the world became that much smaller. The 20th floor stage was especially smaller. Looking at the world map, this floor wasn't even 100th of the other floors. It was just a red point on the map. This was the 20th floor boss stage. Going back. You're trying to go back. It was an ordinary rural village. And burn my paradise again. It was the world's smallest stage. And the world's weakest boss monster. Again. You bastards always. Like that. On the path with acacia flowers, it was crying. It was a single scream. A frail voice. But the world was so small that it was filled with the screams of just one person. A small world. A tiny village. Our situations have been completely reversed. I blocked the Devil King's sword. Blade clashed against blade. Do you remember? On the 12th floor, you were the Devil King and I was the warrior. You attacked, and I defended. Hey, the world is pretty fair. Right? Now, you're defending. Die. Sorry, Devil King. I twisted my sword. That phrase doesn't have any meaning to me. My sword pushed the Devil Kings away without too much trouble. The amount of strength itself was different. The Devil King's physical strength was already insignificant. The Devil King couldn't endure against it, and he ended up exposing his waist. A blind spot. My sword cut the Devil King's upper body. Ki. Red blood burst out. The being of the Devil King of Fall Rain is becoming faint. Blood poured out. The white acacia flowers on the path. Red blood had dripped down onto them. You've become weak. Devil King. I took a step forward. The red flowers were crushed under my feet. You've become really weak. You, Kyup, Yuk, Kyuk. But it's still not enough. I swung my sword. Become even weaker. You. A lot more than now. My blade split the Devil King. The white flowers became even redder. The Devil King of Fall Rain's being is becoming fainter. A step. The Devil King of Fall Rain's being is becoming fainter. Another step. Every time the Devil King stepped back, the white flowers faded away. Every time I took a step forward, the acacia flowers became redder. That wasn't just it. Cook, Yuk. The Devil King's body was revealed little by little. Hate. Regret. Resentment. His wastewater was skinned away. No. The top of his feet was revealed. No. No more than that. His 2 legs on the path were shown. Yuk. His left and right arm were completely revealed. Above and below parts of his waist were revealed. His long neck was revealed. Tower, no. And finally, his face had stripped off. The Devil King of Fall Rain's being is becoming fainter. Chin. His upper and lower lip. The tip of his nose, and his cheeks. The Devil King of Fall Rain's being is becoming fainter. His red eyes. Pale forehead. The Devil King of Fall Rain's being is becoming fainter. And finally, the Devil King of Fall Rain's being is becoming fainter. His hair, which was like a lion's mane. Each strand had lost its black color. The last of the wastewater flowed down.
Ah.
It groaned. His long arms were trembling. It wasn't able to endure the weight of the sword. You. The thing under the acacia tree was no longer the Devil King. You didn't call something that couldn't even properly lift their sword a Devil King. And the Devil King of Fall Rain's being is becoming more faint. The Devil King of Fall Rain cannot maintain his authority. The tower no longer called it a Devil King either. The readjustment of the class is beginning. The Devil King of Fall Rain's nickname has been taken away. The thing that used to be the Devil King trembled. No. White light wrapped around it. It shook like it was being attacked by bees. No. But it didn't matter. The white light wrapped around it without fading away. letting you know again. It began. The Devil King of Fall Rain's nickname is being taken away. The Devil King of Fall Rain's authority is being taken away. It screamed.
Ah.
The throne of absolute power had fallen.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
It extended its hand like it was trying to catch the sprinkles of light. But it couldn't. It just escaped its fingers. It faded and scattered away. Ah. And in its place.
Ah.
There was a small weak beast. Ah, Yuk.
Ah.
It wasn't the Devil King of Fall Rain. Nor was it the owner of nightmares. It wasn't the saintess of the rural lands. Just a frail being. Yes. I gripped my sword. You're weak enough now. Don't come any closer. Then stop me. Plod. I took a step closer. What will you stop me with? Your words? Your sword? Try anything. If not, a step closer. I'll stand in front of you. It took a step back. It spoke up with much effort. You, all of you, to me, to my children, you don't even deserve to do this. You're wrong. I took another step forward. Like what you said, I'm an outsider who came from another world.
Yeah.
Everyone allied themselves to burn you and your village, the emperor, the military, everything. Let's say that no one on this continent is free from that responsibility. But not me. I'm a complete outsider. Hunters like us have the freedom of choosing. Oot. You don't deserve to hold me responsible. And of course, I took another step forward towards what stepped away from me. You don't have the strength to stop me. It trembled. The trembling escaped from its mouth. I didn't do. Are you trying to say you didn't do anything wrong? I just healed. Estelle was probably as scared as you. It flinched. She probably had screamed to live more. She probably shouted that she didn't want to die. She looked for her father. But what did you do? I spoke nonchalantly of what it did because it became Estelle, and had the memory of humans. You dug your teeth into a human's flesh. You ate what you wanted, and became it. And is that all? You swallowed the newborn baby that the mother entrusted to you. And you acted like you were the best, saying that you saved people. You betrayed the mother that entrusted you with her child. That's not it. I didn't do that. You hid the truth. Even though you knew that people would misunderstand, you stayed quiet because you thought you would be treated as a monster. You tricked people. I took another step forward. Even if you make excuses, it doesn't matter. There's no one who knows you as much as I do in this world. What you went through, what you felt, and how you changed. I know everything. You're not a flawless saintess. You're not an innocent victim. We don't even have to talk about the mother and her child. As I said, the moment you swallowed Estelle, you lost your innocence and it shouted in response. I didn't know. I paused. With its teeth clenched, trembling, it covered its face. Cries escaped through its fingers. I didn't know. I didn't have the memory of humans, the knowledge, I didn't know. The meaning of pleading to be saved. The begging. Then, I didn't know what it meant, Are you saying you did it because you didn't know?
Yeah.
So if only I knew, I never would've. It tried to say it wouldn't have eaten her, and I cut it off. That's what humans do. It became speechless. The kings that you killed will be able to say the same thing. No, they definitely will. And they probably did, right? What did they say to you before you covered their world with blood? I didn't know. I didn't know that you didn't have evil intentions towards us. I just thought you were a twisted witch. They explained themselves. Boot. Eventually, it became completely silent. Sorry, I'm not that well educated. I'm stupid. All I know is the justice of the world. A step more. More than retributive justice. Its shoulders trembled. An eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. If you believed what you swallowed became humans, fine. You should go through the same thing. Then wouldn't that be fair? What are you talking? Tower. I looked up at the sky. I want to use my clear reward. I pulled out a golden card. It was the clear reward that I earned after crushing through the 11th to the 19th floor. I had decided to use it on a skill. Plus 100 Ghost Summon. Rank SS. Effects: what you killed will be summoned as monsters. The dead cannot use their abilities from when they were living. They can't remember it either. They'll be summoned as goblins, orcs, zombies, skeletons, etc. However, you can only summon them once a week. Plus 100 Ghost Summons. An SS class skill. I lifted the card high up in the air. You said I could adjust a skill to however I wanted. The tower agrees to what you're saying. There was a voice that responded to what I was saying. But you cannot do too much. To help you understand, the tower is giving you an example. Evolving an SS class to SSS class is possible. I nodded my head. From the beginning, there was only one thing I wanted anyway. I request to adjust the skill 100 Ghost Summons. The tower is questioning your intention. You don't have to touch anything else. Just memory. I hope you change the part about they can't remember it either. So if under my control, the summoned ones can remember their life. Flinch. It paused. What are you trying to do? How's that? Doesn't that seem logical? I ignored Estelle and shouted. I'm not even asking for their ability to be kept. I'm not even asking for the cool time to be decreased. Memory. Just the memory. I hope the people I killed can remember their life. It was quiet. The sky was silent. Your request is being calculated. Calculating. A moment later. The tower acknowledges that it is within reason. Permission came. Checking the conditions. Will you use the rewards from the 11th to the 19th floor on the skill 100 Ghost Summon?
Yeah.
The condition of the skill you want is the following. If you want, the dead will keep their memory of when they were alive. Do you confirm this is it?
Yeah.
Confirmation complete. And the request of the Death King has been approved. White light surrounded my skill card. A storm of light lashed around. When the light completely settled, I slowly observed my card. Plus 100 Ghosts Reincarnation. Rank SSS. Effects: what you killed will be summoned as monsters. The dead cannot use their abilities from when they were living. But if you want, the dead will be able to keep their memories and their looks from when they were alive. If you don't want to, they'll just be summoned as monsters. However, you can only summon them once a week. Plus 100 Ghosts Reincarnation. It was the name of the first SSS class skill that I had. Nice. Everything that I wanted happened. I turned my head to look at it. Our eyes met. From now on, I'm going to kill you. If you don't like the phrase of me killing you, think of it as swallowing, like what you did. Estelle, the sick people, the children. Like how you swallowed them into your shadow. I'll kill you in that same method. Steadily. I lifted my sword. And I'll save you in that same way. It trembled in fear. Fear. An emotion that was more human than any other. Anxiety of the future. Horrified that it, the fallen constellation, could die like this. It was scared of me. As I took another step forward, it gave a fearful moan. But a moan never stopped anyone. I'm really glad you're human. I spoke. Think about it. If you were a monster, you wouldn't qualify to be summoned for the 100 ghost summons, right? No, I guess it's now 100 ghosts reincarnation. Although the name of the skill doesn't waver. It fought back its fear for the last time. The red sword of the Devil King. It wasn't even able to properly lift it anymore. It barely swung the sword at me. There was no way I would fall to that. I lightly avoided it. Once, twice, thrice, it trembled as it swung the sword. Bei Hurayong muttered. It's nothing. His eyebrows were furrowed. Its stance is unsteady. Its feet aren't properly stepping on the ground either. It's not even looking in front of it. There's no certainty in the path of its sword, geez. What's it trying to do after it swings that sword? What's it doing? Bei Hurayong grumbled. TSK. It a sword user that just relies on aura and its skills. No, it's not even a sword user. After I cleared the 19th floor, he had been silent, but the Sword Emperor seemed extremely displeased looking at the actions of the creature. Look. Zombie. Look at that. This is why I keep on telling you the importance of the basics. At the end, all humans have to rely on is their hands and feet. Bei Hurayong spoke. Close the curtains. I did. With just one swing, I broke its sword. As blade clashed against blade, the sounds rang out. The fallen constellation's eyes widened. The red sword in front split into half. You. The last resolve of the fallen constellation also fell with the sword. The lithe beast collapsed on the floor. The acacia flowers were crushed under its bottom. Is it like the Devil King said? I calmly looked at its despairing appearance. Something that collects death. I suddenly thought of what the tower said as it gave me my nickname. Respects to the king who harvests death. That was what the tower said. It was strange, because it seemed to fit exactly with this situation.
Yeah.
I guess it's not wrong. I slowly put more force on my sword. It was the moment I was about to bring my sword down upon the fallen constellation. Zombie? Wait a minute. Sorry, I'm butting in when you were getting ready to show off what you don't have. Actually, I'm not that sorry. I just said it because I was bored. Anyway, wait a minute. And like always, the Sword Emperor inspected. Note, inspected and Sword Emperor are the same words in Korean. What? Feeling annoyed, I just spoke out loud instead of inside of my head. The Sword Saint and the Witch weren't here anyway. There weren't any hunters around to think I was crazy. No. Just because you seem to be really sure. So, about what? You're sure that isn't a monster anymore. But does that make it a human? What I'm saying is, are you treating that as a human, just like yourself? It could just be a normal NPC. So what? Are you sure even NPCs can be summoned through 100 Ghosts reincarnation? I stopped my sword. Can't that be the case? You're a fucking loser, so you haven't killed an NPC yet. It's definite that 100 Ghosts reincarnation doesn't apply to monsters. But we don't know if that's also the case for NPCs. What if you just did as you liked and it said, sorry? The skill cannot be applied to NPCs. Are you going to take care of the atmosphere suddenly becoming chilly? No, but... Hey. Kim Zombie. Pay attention. I know because I experienced it, but the tower is really harsh when it comes to things like this. Fuck this. The fallen constellation was already looking at me with fear. Its eyes were filled with the horror of death. Cursing, I checked the skill card again. Plus 100 Ghosts reincarnation. Rank SSS. Effects: what you killed will be summoned as monsters. The dead cannot use their abilities from when they were living. But if you want, the dead will be able to keep their memories and their looks from when they were alive. If you don't want to, they'll just be summoned as monsters. However, you can only summon them once a week. See? It says what you killed. Bei Hurayong pointed at the card. How do you know if NPCs are included in the what? Can you be sure? NPCs are humans too. Humans. Oh ho. That's just what you think. Mr. Kim Zombie. Bei Hurayong spoke with a serious face. Before you kill that guy, make a deal with the tower first. A deal with the tower? Why? So what? You were doing it fine earlier. You already did it once, you can do it again. That was true. I looked up at the sky with a slightly awkward face. Mr. Tower. The tower is listening to what you're saying. Fortunately, I wasn't ignored. Earlier, I heard that I was being given the power of an apostle. Was it thanks to that? It seemed like for the time being at least, I could communicate freely with the tower. There's something I want to ask, please. Hey. Earlier you spoke informally to the tower, so what's with all the respect now? What a funny guy. I accidentally spoke informally because I was so caught up in the moment and, geez, never mind. Be quiet. Even while we were fighting, the tower answered calmly. The tower is checking what your question is. Let's see. So, does the 100 Ghosts reincarnation skill acknowledge an NPC? Or does that just apply to hunters like me? And I received an unexpected answer in response. The tower is judging. The question surpasses the authority of the tower. Pardon? And that wasn't the end. The voices that followed went way past my expectations even more. The tower is confirming the authority of the questioner. Pass. The Death King currently has the temporary qualification of an apostle. The tower acknowledges the Death King's question as an official agenda item. And the tower requests a majority conference to the 6 constellations of 10,000 lives. Pot. White light covered my eyes. Huh? When I blinked my eyes after some time had passed, I was already in a strange place. It wasn't an unfamiliar place. I was taken even more aback because it was unfamiliar. The nether world. My dark prison. It was the starting point that I returned to when I died. In other words, this was somewhere that I didn't have to come unless I was dead. Why am I? Then, a voice rang out. Confirming participants. No. It wasn't just a voice. The sixth constellation. The author of all operas is participating. The fifth constellation. The lady who walks the mirage is participating. The fourth constellation. The moon that observes blindness is participating. The third constellation. One who created Bonsan is participating. The second constellation. The god who dances in emptiness is participating. No matter how much I looked around, there was only darkness, so I couldn't see anything. But even if I couldn't see, I could feel presences. Confirming that the 6 constellations of 10,000 lives are participating. The temporary apostle of the tower, Death King's problem is being shared. I could feel presences all around me. They were too powerful to say they were just presences. They were looking at me through the darkness. Sharing complete. Voices flowed where the gazes were. A majority conference is starting about the agenda item. Does the skill 100 Ghosts Reincarnation apply to NPCs? If you agree that NPCs are included, please assent. If you do not agree that NPCs are included, please dissent. Quietly. The figureless presences opened their mouths. Geshe-la Izaku Ho Deo. It was a language unknown to me. Sato, Yovala? Wiloyo na.
Shh.
Deo Fenta. Kunto, Niola Geshviinail na? Nai Geshnail na? It seemed to be a language that formed a connection between all the shadows. This place was filled with snakes I couldn't see. From the left, the right, from below and above, and right in front of me. Hiss, hiss, their voices were similar to the hissing tongues of snakes. Their tongues were red and long, and it entered my brain. It licked it. Geshamulagamia cho greet hin waloyo. Nail. It was dizzying. I was feeling faint. I was definitely just a consciousness without a mind, but I felt like barking. Anything was fine. I wanted to spit something out. The oil in my stomach, no, oil infiltrated my brain. It was a feeling like my soul was being sucked to the bottom. Leo na. Then, the voices all stopped as one. Gesh. Nail. Nai Geshnail. Dash. Dash. Deo Zaken. Silence. Silence. Silence descended in the emptiness. No one opened their mouth. It was quiet. The sounds of beings that were licking at my brain stopped. Only then could I breathe. They're not beings in the tower itself. I got a grasp on myself. The language of beings in the tower are translated so I can understand it, but they're different. They're beings that live outside of the tower. They're beings that can't even be compared to the Devil King of Fall Rain. They might be the people who made the tower. People who lived somewhere that I couldn't imagine. After a long silence. The voting regarding the agenda item is beginning. A familiar voice rang out. After hearing the voice, I felt more comfortable. The 6th constellation. The author of all operas votes against it. The 5th constellation. The lady who walks the mirage votes for it. The 4th constellation. The moon that observes blindness votes for it. The 3rd constellation. One who created Bonsan votes against it. The 2nd constellation. The god who dances in emptiness gives up their vote. 2 for, 2 against, and 1 give up. I paused. I couldn't know who they were or where they were from. However, they had the authority to decide about my skill, 100 Ghosts Reincarnation. That much was clear. But their votes resulted in something that wasn't for, or against it. Why? What did they expect from me? Wait. I looked around me, the sound of snakes hissing, gone. There's still a being that didn't vote. Yes. I had clearly heard it when I entered this place. The tower requests a majority conference to the 6 constellations of 10,000 lives. And that wasn't the end. Confirming participants. Confirmed that the 6 constellations of 10,000 lives are participating.
Yeah.
They said there was 6. The tower had definitely said there were 6 beings here. Then, the vote that just happened now was strange. 2 votes for, 2 against, and 1 that didn't count. There were only 5 in total. Then where was the last 1 vote? And just what was the remaining being like, for everyone to remain so respectfully quiet? It was someone who didn't have to participate in this space. It was someone who didn't have to come here, because they were already here from the beginning. The person who knew everything while in here. The owner of the tower. I looked straight at the dark area in front of me. The most powerful being was right there. I think voting for it is right. I thought as calmly as I could. I quietly spoke about what I had been contemplating. Let's say NPCs don't count. Then how was the devil kill able to summon so many monsters? All the people who were massacred by the Devil King must have been NPCs. The gazes silently looked at me. Of course, I know what you're all worried about. You're concerned that I'll just kill any NPCs in sight to summon them, but I think I showed you what kind of person I was. A dark area. I looked at each of the directions where I felt the beings were. And I spoke. I'm not that kind of person. And I won't live like that in the future. In the end, it was the same. No matter how strong my opponent was, there were already methods that were chosen for me. It was always just 2. Fight, or convince them. The Devil King can kill NPCs and summon them, and I can't? That's unfair. Not bad. Something opened their mouth. A voice. It sounded like it was whispering right in my ear, and also like it came from far away. It caused shivers down my back every time it spoke. But it's complicated. The voice was laughing. Death King. Speak with your heart, and not your head. I was silent for a moment. And I spoke. That Devil King is a game that I caught. I said what I could. It's mine, so please don't touch it. The voice burst out in laughter. The first constellation. The owner of 10,000 lives votes for it. The sound of the laughter pierced through the darkness. The voting is finished. 3 votes for. 2 votes against. 1 vote given up. NPCs are included in Death King's skill, 100 Ghosts Reincarnation. Clang, shatter. The darkness cracked like glass due to the laughter. In the empty prison, another empty space had opened up. From there, white light flowed. The temporary apostle authority of the Death King is being taken away. I realized while I was being surrounded by the blinding light. The conference is being ended. That I succeeded in convincing the tower. May luck be with you. Zombie. Hey, zombie. Blink. When I opened my eyes again, I saw the acacia flowers. Bei Hurayong. And the fallen constellation that was once called the Devil King of Fall Rain. There wasn't any sound from the acacia flowers, and the fallen constellation didn't dare make a sound. Only Bei Hurayong spoke floating in the air. Kim Zombie? Hey, Zombie King. Can you hear me? I felt strange. It seemed like only a few seconds had passed by, but at the same time, it felt like forever had passed. It was really strange. And the memory of what had just happened became faint, so I didn't know exactly what went on. Sword Emperor. Wow. You finally responded. Your brain must be turning into an actual zombies because I keep calling you a zombie. Didn't you hear it? You didn't see it? What? The tower summoned me to the nether world, and something about 10,000 lives and constellations, and someone like the owner of the tower appeared and laughed. You don't know? Bei Hurayong frowned. His face looked as if he had seen a dog with rabies. In other words, he looked like he was looking at a crazy person. Sorry, zombie. I teased you too much. I've never been sorry my entire life, but I suddenly feel really sorry. I won't tease you as much, so get a grip. He didn't know. The Sword Emperor, who climbed up to the 99th floor. Bei Hurayong, the legend who had earned the name of Sword Constellation, even he didn't know what I was talking about. The back of my neck felt cold. Who did I just meet now? The cold feeling wrapped around my neck and spread to my shoulder and back. Just grip. I tightened my grip on the sword. No. Let's be calm. Kim Gongja. I swallowed and looked in front of me. The path I had to take was still in front of me. Although there's still a lot of things I don't know. I slowly raised my sword. Now, I am going to strike the final blow on my game. When I reached the 100th floor, I would be able to know something. Bei Hurayong tilted his head. Huh? Gongja? You're just going to kill it? Don't you have to ask the tower first? It's okay. I answered. I already found my answer. The fallen constellation stretched out its hand. Wait. Save. I flung my sword. This sword was my reward from the 10th floor. It was what moved the hearts of the soldiers on the 11th floor stage. Tens of times. Hundreds of times. Thousands of times. It was the sword that was always in my hand when I was trapped on the 12th stage. It was a sword that proved my time because it was always with me. With that sword, I cut the fallen constellation. There was a small scream. As the screaming sound cut off, the fallen constellation collapsed. Blood poured out. The blood flowed and stained another acacia flower. Looking at the white and the red, I slowly opened my mouth. Ghost, wake up. Squirm. My shadow shook. A black hand shot out from my shadow. The hand that looked like it was escaping from hell didn't seem to want to leave. But it was a futile act. Stand up. The shadow couldn't refuse my orders. Its head lifted from the shade. Then, it was his chest, legs, and feet. You, Hyuk. Its arms and legs shook like a newborn baby. Even though it had the body of an adult, it was nothing more than a newly born being. And Estelle is nothing more than the name you stole. It's not a name you can have. There was always a responsibility to those who gave life in this world. And the first of those responsibilities was giving a name. Preta. It looked at me through its wavy black hair. From now on, your name is Preta. Serve me as a master. It was celebrated as the rural saintess. And the being that used to be respected as the devil king of fall rain had his shoulders shaking. Yes, sir. The one that didn't deserve to have a name received a name from me, and bowed. The white acacia flowers fell, and landed on its head. I'll obey your orders. It was the last day of the promised 5. My lord. Death King and Devil King. One of the two kings fell. One. And in that place where a king and his servant were left, the first person to open their mouth wasn't either of them. Technically speaking, an emperor, not a king or a servant opened their mouth. Sword Emperor, do you have to do that now? He was such a party pooper. He twisted his body like a baguette with anguish.
Yeah.
I have to. I don't want to do it either, honestly. I want to get away from the two of you and pretend like I don't know you, sheesh, but I'm the only person who can say this. Geez, what are you going to say? What are you guys doing? I didn't know what he was saying, but it seemed like he wanted to be the one giving the name. What am I doing? As you can see. Sure. So you killed the Devil King and saved him with your skill. You even gave it a name, sheesh, that name. What kind of name is Preta for a girl? If you wanted to call it a Preta, you should have named her Green Preta and call her Greenie for short. You're even complaining about the name now? No, let's just say the name's fine. Next, why are you suddenly establishing a hierarchy? The Sword Emperor looked at Preta and me like we were the strangest things in this world. Like you guys, what kind of bond do you have? Okay, fine. Let's say you have it. Since it's the game you caught. You can do that old "I got you under my skin" trend. TN, reference to TVXQ's song Miritich. The lyrics before this section are "You're my slave." You listen to popular songs too? One of the hobbies of that Marcus guy is, anyway. So you're you, but I don't understand why she's going, "Yes, my lord." I was able to learn one of the Sword Saint's hobbies. I would have been better off if I didn't know that, but that wasn't important. So you're asking why Preta is serving me as I'm her lord, right?
Yeah.
Zombie? I'll list all the things that you did to her. I nodded my head. You blocked her way while laughing and saying she wouldn't win, right? That's how it started. And you erased everything she stacked up. After that, you even blew her mind away with everything you said. That's what happened. And you even killed her. Phew, you forced a kid that didn't want to come out with 100 Ghosts reincarnation. That's how it ended, I guess. The Sword Emperor clicked his tongue.
Ha!
You indifferent bastard. Is your heart made of stone? There might even be a cobra in there. You forgot to talk about the fact that I closed the curtains to the one who doesn't even know how to use a sword like someone told me to. That was necessary, and that Preta is probably thankful for that deep inside her heart. If she has the passion of a sword user still left inside her. The Sword Emperor spoke in a serious tone. I thought this ghost was just good at nagging, but it seemed like he was also good at talking about bullshit. Anyways, so I think it would be normal for her to be angry at you. But why is she bowing her head and asking for you to command her? Was the disaster that swallowed up a whole world actually a masochist of the century? Wow. The Sword Emperor said that he wanted to get away from us, but the same went for me. I took a step back. Seriously, that gorilla's imagination. Sword Emperor, the reason why Petra is obeying me. The reason is? Because Petra knows. I looked at Petra. You'll know soon enough too. Sounds of sobbing rang out in the acacia field. Hyuk, ah, Hyuk. Petra was crying. They were tears of sadness and fury. Her despair dripped down. It was true. Petra knew well. Searching for the existence of the Devil King on the 20th floor. What kind of tragedy would happen from now on? Search impossible. Petra's shoulders flinched. Confirming the absence of the Devil King. Drops of light soared up from around us. They came from the ground and flowed from the acacia trees. The 20th floor stage was small anyway, so it was quickly surrounded by light. In the middle of the white light. No, please. No. Petra trembled with a moan. But what did that all matter for anyways? Historical change. A strict-sounding voice came from the sky. Like a judgment against the guilty in court. The 20th floor is being revised. Slowly. History started to move backwards. Petra looked far off into the distance with wet eyes. Something came from the entrance of the acacia forest path. Chulkuk. Chulk-duck. Every time they moved, their armor bumped around. Above them, there were flags of various colors. Please. They were a countless number of soldiers. There were the footsteps of soldiers and the sound of wings flapping. Again, the village, burn the village. To turn back history. To burn up paradise. Forces from all around the world were allied together and entered the acacia forest path. No, please, UT. Petra collapsed to the floor and bowed. Her bowed head and hands were directed at me. Lord. Like what the Sword Emperor said, Petra should have been trying to tear me to shreds. But the fact that she was bowing desperately towards me probably meant that she was that much furious and hurt. My lord. However, she did it. She had to. I won't have any grudges. I won't take revenge. Preda didn't have any choice other than accepting to become bound to me and serving me as her master. But when a helpless person had something to protect, they would do anything. I'll do whatever you ask me to, servant, slave. I don't care about what happens to me, so please. It made people beg. Please, my village. All right. Not saying too much. I began to walk. The Sword Emperor followed me. He, who had been looking at us with a silly face, had a more serious face than ever. So that's how it was. Yes, this is how it is. Step. A servant has to follow their master. And a lord has the responsibility to take care of their people. Step. Sorry, I twisted it. You lost the bet too, right? Please just think of the consequences for that. I walked past him. I took a deep breath and included aura in my voice. I shouted. All legions stop. The acacia flowers fluttered in the air as if an invisible force shook them. The sound of the dragons flapping and armor bumping against each other stopped. The sound of the horse's footsteps and the banging of the spear stopped. Stood alone in the acacia field. Bei Hurayong. The so-called Sword Emperor was a man who was likely to pop out if you mixed a psychopath and an oldie in a 5:5 manner. Thanks to this perfect ratio, 99% of the time, what the Sword Emperor said to me was either crazy or useless. When I swing my sword, it wasn't just my skills that mattered. In other words, the 1% contained the essence of the psychopath oldie. Faith. Confidence. Having faith in yourself is what's really important. Bei Hurayong had a solemn expression. Even your bullshit is the same. It was a thundering criticism that came from his real-life experience. I fooled myself to be able to deceive my opponents. You have to believe in your own lies. Have confidence. No matter how convincing your lies are, if you do it without confidence, your opponents won't buy it. But no matter how ridiculous it is, as long as you have confidence, you'll be able to lure them in. Really? I know because I've done it a lot myself. Maybe the psychopath oldie ratio was around 6-4 instead. Of course, if it was 100% a complete lie, your opponents wouldn't believe you, nor will you believe yourself. So mix your lies with some truth. Mix 10% of the truth with 90% of the lie. Mix? That's right. That's the beauty of lies. If you believe in your 10% truth, the remaining 90% lie will flow naturally on its own. Indeed. Remember, zombie. Lying comes down to having confidence. I looked at what was in front of my eyes. Troops came from all over the continent to capture Estelle the Devil King. Among them, the soldiers of the Egyptian Imperial Army, who were in charge of the vanguard, along with the general leading the soldiers, were staring at me. If I didn't deceive them, I would be in danger. Why is the emissary of the founding emperor? But that sword is definitely. Why is the emissary in a place like this? Murmur, murmur. Some of the soldiers suspiciously glanced at me. The Egyptian Imperial Army was gently bowing its head, but that was all. The soldiers who belonged to other divisions didn't have a sliver of doubt on their faces. As expected, even the Imperial Army couldn't stand up against the Holy Protection Sword. By the way, are you the emissary of the founding emperor? The very leader of the Imperial Army carefully examined my complexion. Can I ask you a stupid question? What is it? The reason we're here today, as I mentioned before, is to defeat the witch. Why is the emissary of the founding emperor here at this place? I closed my eyes for a moment. Lying's all about confidence. I exclaimed with my eyes wide open. Gentlemen from the Imperial Army. I've already defeated the witch. My awe-filled voice resounded loudly on the acacia field. General Sarbest-Ejim was shocked. Who ? Huh? What do you mean you've already defeated her? What are you? Look here. I cleared the way. Then the vengeful ghost who was hiding behind me was revealed. Whether they had already known about Estelle's appearance, some recognized her and shouted. It's Estelle. It's the Witch of the West. I've seen her before. It's that woman. Burn the witch to death. The vengeful ghost's mouth wailed and flinched. But I said without a care. Vengeful ghost. Yes. Come and kneel before them. A firm command. The vengeful ghost, who was reduced to becoming a part of my 100 ghosts, had no power to disobey my orders. She stumbled and knelt. That wasn't the end. Bow your head down. The vengeful ghost bowed her head. On the floor. The vengeful ghost touched the floor with her trembling hands. Was it because of anger? Or was it because of disgrace? Either way, she couldn't speak, or she was biting her tongue. The two cheeks of the ghost had a deep pouted look. A little later, blood fell down her jawline to her lips. Place your forehead to the ground. Ugh. The vengeful ghost followed my orders. The soldiers watched, holding their breath, as the former Devil King bowed her forehead on the ground. Even more anger and disgrace mingled with the sound of the vengeful ghost's breath. Nevertheless, to protect her little paradise, she obeyed my orders. In a way, it was an imposing scene. To the vengeful ghost, I ordered solemnly. Just like that, straining both your feet, kick the floor, and do a forward roll. Silence. Silence dawned on the acacia field for a moment. Huh? The vengeful ghost turned her head and looked up at me. She looked as if she had just heard something wrongly. I frowned. Didn't you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Go ahead and do a forward roll. The vengeful ghost flinched and reluctantly obeyed my orders. That is to say, she placed both her hands on the ground and made a forward roll. Dagururu. T/N, Korean sound effect of rolling forward. A small body rolled down the field, and her blonde hair, which was even longer than her body, fluttered away and swept up the acacia petals on the floor. After one such lap, the vengeful ghost still had an expression as if she didn't know what or why she just did what she did. I nodded. Now do a handstand. The vengeful ghost looked back at me one more time. She seemed to doubt the mental state of her new owner. Of course, I didn't lift even an eyebrow. Hurry up, can't you even do a handstand? Hick. The vengeful ghost trembled and touched the floor with both her hands. And as she slowly tried to do a handstand, perhaps she didn't have enough strength, but she stumbled and fell. Sobs, as if swimming on the bare ground, the vengeful ghost was floundering in tears. Either way, I continued to order in a stern voice. Do 20 jumping jacks. 10 squats, start. 10 push-ups as soon as you're done. I order you to do 20 sit-ups. Stay in the plank position for 20 seconds. After a while. No more, Lord, I can't move my body. The former Devil King didn't have the power to lift even a finger and laid down on the floor. Tears filled her eyes. I looked at Sarbastijam. Do you understand now? Sarbastijam had his mouth wide open. Not only the general but also the soldiers under his command had a similar expression. The continent's army looked dazedly at the vengeful ghost, who was crying like a mere child. Holy emissary. What exactly is this? As I just said. I widened my eyes and stared fearlessly. The witch has already been defeated by me. Now, no matter what happens, the witch cannot go against my orders. The soldiers cheered. Then the soldiers shuddered, the commanders of the army were confused along with them. If the holy emissary. If you say so. No, wait a minute. Sarbastijam, who was subservient to the authority of the holy protection sword, seemed to be trying to somehow believe what I said, but the other commanders had a "what a load of bullshit" expression on their faces. Among them, the chief holy knight took a step forward and shouted. What the hell are you doing? We came here to defeat the witch. I mean, the emissary of the founding emperor already said, the witch has already been defeated. How can we believe that? On the contrary, how can I not trust him? The emissary of the founding emperor ordered me to, but did you not see the witch do all those things? Sarbastijam was angered. The power of the holy protection sword was indeed amazing. The chief holy knight had a face that said, I'm going to jump up and down crazily. He shouted while jumping. How can you believe that? No, in the first place. Isn't that one sword the only thing that could prove that the young man was the emissary of the founding emperor? You've been going at it since just now just for that one mere sword. One mere sword, you say? Sarbastijam's voice rose. Did you just say that one blade? Oh my God. Right now, you dare doubt the authority of the founding emperor, who founded the empire. The evidence that we are favored by the goddess is that holy protection sword. How dare you? The chief holy knight flinched. No, General. Calm down. I didn't mean it to that extent. The founding emperor took that sword and left for the wilderness. Running through the fields, leaving a legacy in every city he went, climbed volcanoes, burned down waterfalls, and even pierced mountains. Just to establish the empire. All our ancestors stood with the founding emperor, and all of us owe him. But did you just say, just for that mere blade? No, that's not what I meant. If not, then what the hell were you talking about? Your Holiness, the Pope had given me orders. I was given a strict order to defeat the evil witch at all costs. But just because of one word. The general of the empire screamed. What do you mean just because of one word? You are indirectly questioning the words of the founding emperor's emissary using the order of the Pope. Wow. What? The chief holy knight shut his mouth. It took exactly 2 seconds for his bewilderment to turn into anger. Back at you, you dare doubt the authority of the temple of God. Didn't you first doubt the authority of the holy protection sword? Oh.
Oh.
Good. I got it. Seems like the third prince that you are loyal to doesn't need the Pope's declaration of support.
Ha!
What declaration of support? The emissary of the founding emperor has already turned up and defeated the witch. What does the goddess's love have to do with looking over the sovereignty of the empire? So is that really the will of the third prince's faction? The empire's general and the knights of the temple were squabbling fiercely. I was grinning happily inside. Very good. There was something you must be careful about when groups of people band together. If an internal strife was revealed even once, it becomes a straight road rush towards destruction. They wouldn't be able to go far. When we hunters went up to the 12th floor. At that time, it was unfortunate, but there were exactly 8 different power structures. Me, Sword Saint, and the top 5 guild masters all represented one power structure each. And the minor forces that were in a contribution by the 8th to 10th place. We were together for the external purpose of clearing the tower, but we were never a solid mass. There was something piled upon each other. There was distrust. That was why we pathetically self-destructed even though there was only one unexpected variable called the Devil King's reward. Warriors, those who climb the towers. As soon as the 11th floor was opened, I recalled what the hologram of the goddess said. From the 11th floor to the 20th floor, you will face a test. A test of faith. I grinned inwardly. The test of one's good faith. Not only the hunters, but probably also the residents of the tower would have to go through it too, right? Wouldn't that make the world a little more fair?